Yeah. I'd like to introduce Sue from England, and Sue has multiple sclerosis. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello, Sue. Could you tell us, when did you first start to notice symptoms?
It was, the same time I was diagnosed, because it was private, so it was April 1991.
Oh.
That's when I noticed the first symptoms. But looking back, I've probably had it a lot longer than that. But having said that, it didn't really bother me at that time, and not knowing, I think, helped me carry on,
Yeah.
you know?
So,
but,
what
yeah.
symptoms did you notice initially?
Well, the thing was, we was on holiday at the time, and paddling in the sea. I thought it was just cold feet, but it wasn't. It was a start of numbness. So both my feet started going numb, and within, I'd say, 2-3 weeks, I was actually like pins and needles numb up to my waist. I could touch the skin and be aware that there was something going on, but I didn't know if it's, how can I put it? It wasn't really pins and needles, although I was aware of something being touched to my skin. It wasn't normal. I knew there was something wrong. So consequently, I went to the doctors as soon as I realised. The doctor immediately said, "Oh, you've got private health care, haven't you?" Which came with the job, and of course I said yes. So straight away he sent me to Harley Street and what have you. And then I was diagnosed. But I had the whole gamut, if you know what I mean, within a week. I had a lumbar puncture, electrodes fitted to my head, my hands. I had all sorts of tests done. I had blood tests, an MRI scan. Unfortunately, though, the private doctor didn't tell me that I had MS. He just said it was a virus. In other words, your body was attacking yourself. And it wasn't until I went to my GP about 6 weeks later about a completely different matter that he said, "Oh yes, you're the lady with MS." And that's how I found out. I didn't know up to then, because the symptoms had actually gone away by then.
No.
So my legs were back to normal. So I didn't think there was a problem.
Okay.
So it was a bit odd.
So what happened then?
Well, I just carried on at work. I was so shocked that there was anything wrong with me. And it wasn't really until I started showing some signs. Because I was initially off for about 5 weeks, I was signed off by the doctors to have all these various tests done. And until the numbness really wore off, which was about 5 weeks in total, I suppose. So I really had to tell. I was working for a firm of accountants. I had to tell the partner that was in charge, but I don't think she actually told the workers. She might well have told other accountants, but she never told the workers, who I was technically in charge of, as they called it, the practice support staff, like the secretaries and the administrators and what have you. But the actual accountants, I think she probably told a few of them. But to all intents and purposes, I never even had a walking stick. I never had anything. While I worked there, I was as good as normal. You would have known that I'd had MS. So
how long did it take for you to start getting other symptoms?
I have to say, it was probably years. This was 1991. I changed jobs after about 4 years there, and I was at my last, then I started my last job, and I was there for 6 years. So I would say it was about 6 years before I actually had a walking stick that I succumbed to, simply because I kept falling over in the street. And you can't do that when you're working in the city.
Not really.
All kinds of funny looks, exactly. Especially when I fell down over a manhole that somebody had dug up a great big hole in the street and covered it with wood. And of course I tripped up the edge of it. It was only about half an inch, but even then I was dragging one foot without realising it. Of course I went down like a sack of coals, and it echoed. So everyone turned around and looked to see who was this lady on the floor. Not that anyone helped me, because at that time I could get up. So,
but were you experiencing?
I just got up and carried on walking.
Were you experiencing anything else at that time, symptom-wise?
No, to be honest, I suppose it was tiredness, but I thought I was always tired anyway. I never, well, I say always tired. I wasn't. I think the only symptom was the fact I was dragging my foot a bit and I slowed down a bit. I could no longer run, that I knew. So running for a train just wasn't an option in the mornings. And I had 2 flights of stairs to go up to the station from where I lived. And that was becoming difficult. I'd have the walking stick in one hand and I'd have to use the rails on the side of the steps to actually get up to the platform.
Yeah.
But even then, I carried on for about 4 years doing that.
And then what happened?
And it wasn't really until I could no longer get up the stairs that I decided if I can't get into the city, then there's no point carrying on working. By which time I was 48, I think. So I'd had MS for quite some time before I had to give up work, but simply because I couldn't get up the steps to the station.
So once you gave up work,
sorry?
Once you gave up work, what happened then?
What did I give up?
No. Once you packed up work, what happened to your MS?
To be honest, it got gradually worse. I used to drive the car, and that was fine for some time until I gave up work, as I said, and bought the car and started going around and doing things that I'd never done before, which was nice because I'd worked all my life. It was nice just to get in the car and go to a nursery and look at the gardening, go to my sister's, and we'd go out for the day. I did things that I wouldn't normally have done, but I did notice that the MS was getting slightly worse, but it was a slow progression. It wasn't immediate, if you know what I mean. But come 4 years ago, I realised I could no longer get up the stairs where I lived in Enfield because the house that we owned was like a 3-up. There were 3 bedrooms upstairs, and the toilet was on the first floor. So if I needed to go quickly to actually get up the stairs was becoming really difficult. And it was then that we decided to move to a bungalow so that everything was on one level. And that's when I moved to the house that I'm in now, 4 years ago. And within 6 months of moving, I had to give up the car, simply because that was my own decision. I felt I was a danger to other people. Nobody had actually told me I was, but I personally didn't feel safe. I thought if a child runs out in front of me, I'm not convinced I'd be able to stop in time. I think my reactions were slower than they had been. I just didn't feel I was safe, but consequently giving up the car kind of took away my freedom too.
So before you found LDN, what symptoms did you have?
Pretty much what I said. I mean, I started LDN sometime already beforehand, and that was simply because I'd read about it, but it was a case of trying to stem. I was aware that I had progressive because I used to go to a neurologist, and I knew that I never really had relapsing remitting. I never had bad spells. I just gradually got worse. So it went from secondary progressive to primary progressive, and that I was told that by a neurologist, and I was aware that every time I went to him and he carried out various tests on me, that I was gradually getting worse. So I knew that I was on a slippery slope, and all I wanted to do with the LDN was really halt the progression as much as I could. And to be honest, the only reason I know it worked is because I had to stop taking it, or I did stop taking it for some reason for about 3 months because I tried something else. Paid a lot of money for a different, kind of thing. It was snake venom. I read a lot about it, and I thought, yeah, that sounds good. I'm willing to try anything. But they did say you had to stop taking the LDN. I've since found out that I should have carried on because it wouldn't have interfered with it at all. And in that 3 months, I went downhill so quick. But the trouble with MS is that you don't regain what you've lost. So although I started taking the LDN again, it sort of slowed down progression, yes, but I never regained what I'd lost.
When you first started the LDN, did you notice any introductory side effects?
None at all, no. I was really lucky in that respect. I just started taking it. Initially, I felt as though it was doing me really some good. I felt a little bit stronger. I was sleeping well anyway, so that it never really disturbed my sleep. They say you can get vivid dreams. Well, I never had any of that. I never had any side effects at all. But all I know is that it helped steady me, if you like. I think that's the answer. The only way I can describe it is that it actually made me steadier. I wouldn't be without it, let's put it that way. Whatever, I'll keep taking it, so...
What would you say to other people who are contemplating trying it?
Well, the thing is, I'm not a good example in as much as I've not had the success, if you like, with LDN. Other people have. All I know is it's helped me in as much as it has slowed down the progression. For somebody in my condition, I think I would have been a hell of a lot worse if I hadn't been taking it. I think the progression would have really accelerated to an extent that I just couldn't cope at all. Whereas I now live on my own. I was divorced last year, so I've been on my own for just over a year, and I've managed to cope until January this year when I started to have a carer in, and she only comes in the mornings for 2 hours. Simply because it was taking me so long to get washed, dressed and what have you. I don't really want to start the day at 12 o'clock, so she comes in and does all the usual things for me and gets me ready for the day by 10 o'clock, so I can start, I can go out, I can do what I like, you know. But the LDN has definitely helped in that respect. But as I say, I'm not in some ways a good example, because I know other people have had more success with it. But then again, I don't have a great deal of success with anything, whatever I've tried. So LDN is still the best thing, and I would never be without it, because I know I can't cope without it. So, and I know that I will go downhill rapidly, even more rapidly than I currently am. So.
Okay, well, thank you very much for sharing your story with us, and really do appreciate it.
Well, I wish I'd been able to answer more direct questions, but the thing is, it's such a muddle. Over the years, I've done